Hello, everybody. Welcome to the review from Is This Mag Escape on YouTube. It is 12:17 a.m. Before I get into the details of this review, I want to say that I apologize for the lack of reviews on my channel as of late. As most of you are well aware of, I experienced a very personal, tragic loss on September 9th of 2021. My life is still going through a myriad of emotions where I'm just constantly going back and forth, becoming very problematic for me when it comes to watching a film or a show or reading a book or a sporting event. So I'm still in a state of just constant brokenheartedness, if that makes any sense. My mom and I were doing everything we possibly can to move forward as the best way that we can and the only way we know how, and it's still a very painful journey that we're going through. But I want to say that your words of encouragement are greatly appreciated, and it means a lot to me. So thank you for the kind words. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this review. I just finished watching The Batman. This will be a very spoiler-free review because I do not want to give away any type of detailed information that will more or less deter an individual from watching this film or not enjoying it. The Batman initially began as a project that was going to be written, directed, produced, and starring Ben Affleck. Unfortunately, due to the lackluster critic review and box office receipts of Batman vs. Superman and the Justice League, Ben Affleck ended up leaving the project, which allowed Matthew Reeves to step in. Initially, it was still going to be part of the DCEU until they decided to scrap those plans altogether and have it be a separate Batman from that particular universe. The Batman stars Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, Colin Farrell, Jeffrey Wright, Andy Serkis, John Turturro, and Paul Dano. The film covers the story of Batman initially still in the beginning stages of his vigilante career with 2 years, and he's doing what he can to uncover the corruption that exists within Gotham City and the law enforcement, the police department that is attempted to either hide the corruption or fight it as well. The Riddler enters into the picture as a serial killer / intellect who is using riddles, ciphers, and puzzles to hone in his attacks on very high-profile targets. Needless to say, this film is a very different compared to the other Batman films that we are accustomed to. It's nothing flashy, colorful, quippy. It's a very unique type of vision that Matthew Reeves brought to the picture. I will say I think a lot of this is going to depend on the word of mouth when it comes to its success, because it's either Batman fans are either going to love it or hate it, or the general audience is going to love it or hate it as well. So it's going to really depend on those two specific audiences. And as a Batman fan myself, I am going to say that this is by far the best Batman film that I've watched personally. I know there's a lot of people who had initial reservations when it comes to Robert Pattinson's performance, given that most people aren't really aware of his previous work other than Twilight. He's a very capable actor, and he brought his A game to the role. He is, in my opinion, the best Batman that I have seen on screen. And this is coming from someone who loved Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton, to me, was my Batman growing up as a kid. I loved Batman Returns, and Val Kilmer brought his unique style, but I won't necessarily blame him for that. George Clooney played I guess a decent Batman for the material that he was given. Christian Bale was a good Batman, and I thought Ben Affleck was a great Batman, but I do believe that this is by far the best representation that we have seen of Batman on screen. Zoe Kravitz as Selina Kyle, a Catwoman, does an amazing job. I thought she really brought a different type of Catwoman that exists in this universe. Growing up, I was never necessarily a fan of the character of Catwoman. She was one of those type of characters where I didn't really care if she was in the story or not. But this performance that Zoe Kravitz brought to her performance really made me consider her character far more better in this film compared to her in the comic books and even the animated series. I thought Colin Farrell as a Penguin was completely unrecognizable physically You literally could not tell that was Colin Farrell physically, but once he started acting, you could tell, oh, okay, that's Colin Farrell. But his performance as the Penguin, I thought, was immaculate. John Turturro as Carmine Falcone, I thought was amazing as well. Andy Serkis as Alfred. This is where I could see there being be some minor complaints, because there definitely need to be more interconnection between Alfred and Bruce Wayne. The scenes that we do see of them together, I thought was absolutely amazing. It just they added that emotional spark that exists between the two characters, and hopefully, should there be a sequel, we actually get to explore more of their relationship. Paul Dano as a Riddler. Paul Dano is an underrated actor in general, but he brought a different type of performance to this character that I did not believe was possible. I've always found the character of the Riddler to be quite fascinating, mainly because of the fact that he brings this type of intellectual wit, complicated puzzles and riddles to test the intellect of not only the reader and the viewer, but of Batman as well. His clues and the riddles and his performance is just equally disturbing and very intense and creepy. You could understand why they decided to go with much more of a Zodiac killer-esque type of character for the Riddler, because if the Riddler were to exist as a serial killer, he would be what you would consider to be the Zodiac killer. If he were real, the Zodiac killer, as you know, was a very real person. That's what the Riddler would be. Either be the Zodiac killer or even the Night Stalker. That, to me, is what really made the Riddler work in the confines of this film, because he just brought something that I do believe was desperately needed. Because we needed, in my perception, we needed a Riddler that was much more serious and darker, and brought a certain type of horror concept to the character. And I thought Matthew Reeves and Paul Dano just in general did an amazing with the Riddler, just an amazing performance, and creepy and scary, very scary. But once again, I had to give props to Robert Pattinson as well. Robert Pattinson is by far, anyone who has any type of reservations regarding his performance, let me just go and say you don't have anything to worry about. He definitely does an amazing job. He does not do a disservice to the performance at all. Now, I know there's going to be some complaints regarding his performance as Bruce Wayne. Let me go ahead and state that this is the beginning. This is still Batman in his early career. Essentially, he is still Batman as Bruce Wayne. He hasn't really fully developed that persona that is necessary for him to be able to blend in within the crowd as the philanthropist playboy Bruce Wayne. So you have to give that character the ability to breathe, and I do believe that we'll get there. But with that being said, I thought he did an amazing job. You see Robert Pattinson as Batman for 98% of the film. And 98% of the film takes place during the night, obviously. What I also loved about this film was just how corrupt, dirty, gritty, brutal that Gotham City was. And it literally looks like an infection just has literally plagued that city. And it's considering that it is planned for it to be a shared universe, I really love how they're showing the dirty, infectious type of Gotham compared to some other city that is going to exist should the shared universe happen within this particular story that Matthew Reeves has concocted. The fight sequences, the action sequences is a bit different because it's not flashy. It's very much brutal and in your face, and it serves a story. And when you have Batman engaging in combat, he is literally taking out his targets with precise precision and brutality. Batman is brutal in this film, very brutal. And I thought the chase sequence between him and the Penguin was very much an adrenaline-fueled, high-octane chase that literally just has you on the edge of your seat. Just flat out amazing, very practical and realistic. I will also say that there's going to be... it's not your standard Batman film where it's a balls-to-the-wall action extravaganza for 3 hours. It is a 3-hour film. Excuse me. And you do feel it. I mean, you do feel the length. But you don't necessarily feel the length in the terms of, well, maybe they should have cut this, maybe they should have cut that, maybe they should have shortened this. It's very much a methodical piece that builds up to its crescendo. And I will say that this film is not for children. Because I don't believe children are necessarily going to have a good time watching this type of film because it's different compared to what they might be used to when it comes to Batman. It's very much a detective type story, which I do believe has been missing from the Batman live action adaptations. We saw a little bit of it in the original Batman, Michael Keaton, and a little bit of it in Batman Returns. We saw quite a bit in Batman Forever and some in the Dark Knight trilogy, but we never fully got a full-on detective noirish type Batman. How I will perceive this film is how if you took a graphic novel of Batman, whatever graphic novel that you're interested in, whether it's The Long Halloween, Hush, my personal favorite was Batman vs. Dracula, that is completely separate from any type of canon that exists, or even the Nightfall story. Like if you take those stories and you merge them together, it is a Batman graphic novel coming to life. It's a masterpiece. I thought this film was absolutely brilliant, a full on real intelligent story that has you thinking outside the box. You thought you may have figured something out, but at the same time you haven't. It just Matthew Reeves did a brilliant job with this film, and the score is very much Batman-esque as well. Highly recommended. Highly recommended. I'm just going to go ahead and state that it is a 3-hour film, so whatever you need to do, whether you need to go to the bathroom or make a phone call, this film deserves your full undivided attention, because you will miss something if you do not pay attention to what's going on. But other than that, I have to say I give the Batman a 5 out of 5, 2 thumbs up. Highly recommended. Let me know in the comment section what you thought about the film. Let me know on my Discord. The link is in the channel as well. Let me know on my Facebook what you thought about it. I would greatly appreciate it. Provide a like as well. When you watch the film, I'm definitely looking forward to hearing what you have to say about it, whether you agree or disagree. That is perfectly okay with me. But I do recommend it. I definitely say go watch the Batman this weekend. I hope you guys remain safe, healthy, and take care, and peace out.